Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the conference SAMAAP as an example of community outreach and West Indian cultural retention through the multi-generational programming and events. Our first panelist is the Professor Verónica Forte. The Professor Forte will talk about the efforts that SAMAAP has been doing through the years to transmit our legacy to the Panama society with events such as the Fair, Queen of SAMAAP, and the scholarship program, SAMAAP Lloyd. The Professor Forte, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Fiona. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk about SAMAAP outreach. And I'll begin with SAMAAP Fair. SAMAAP Fair began 43 years ago at the patio of the museum. Oops, sorry. It's going, okay. At the patio of the museum, where we had between 2,000 and 3,500 participants for 2 days. Since the construction of the metro station, then we had to move to Atlapa. See here? And it was a good opportunity because then from 2,000 people to 3,500 people, then our amount of visitors were triple. We started having between 8,000 and 10,000 in 2 days. So, yeah, wow. So the good thing is that our participants can participate in 4 different sections of our fair. We have the performance section, we have the food section that many people just go into our fair just to have the opportunity to taste our Caribbean delicious food. Then we have the children's section, where our children and young people can participate in different activities as handcraft activities, contests, sharing with their family about the heritage, the Black heritage. And the handcraft, Panamanian and Afro handcraft. So 4 good sections where everybody can participate. Our fair is a familiar fair. We have had 4 different generations at the same time in the fair. This is another section of what the young people and the children do in our fair. And this is another section, different activities. And over here, we go to our queens, SAMAAP queens. This is Grace Walters. She began the process of preparing the queens because she thought that having queens and princesses will help to promote SAMAAP and the fair and our heritage through our ambassadors. Since then, we have had 45 queens and princesses, and they have been touched, and they have touched other young people. They have been inspiring other young people. And when the queens and the princesses go to the media, to the newspaper, to the TV station, to the radio station, they not only represent SAMAAP, but they also promote our heritage and our culture. And this year, we had the opportunity to promote SAMAAP internationally through our queen. Then finally, we also have the opportunity to touch and change youngsters in educational level, a university educational level. And that is because Dr. Ricardo Lloyd and his wife, Debbie Lloyd, gave us the opportunity through a scholarship fund since 2016 to have different scholarship recipients. Since then, we have had 10 scholarship recipients. And then the two first ones were our first scholars. Then we have Fiona, that is our moderator. You see, we have good results, good results. Then we have the one on the bottom was one of our princesses. The one on the right corner was one of our princesses. Then we have a queen, our secretary, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Forte, for your participation and the whole information that you just provide us. Besides the cultural activities, SAMAAP also has educational programs to teach students of different schools here in Panama regarding our Black history. About that, the Professor McGrinson will provide us more information.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have you here. I will be talking about keeping the West Indian legacy alive in Panama. What SAMAAP has done. The acronym SAMAAP means, it's Spanish, Sociedad de Amigos del Museo Afro-Antillean de Panama, Society of Friends of the West Indian Museum of Panama. What has SAMAAP done to keep our legacy strong and get the recognition that it long deserved and overdue? For the past 43 years of existence, SAMAAP has shown much pride and love of country, love of community, and through the investment of time, energy, love of country, worldwide representation, and contribution to the cultural and educational development of our society. As our first generation has passed on since the construction of the Panama Canal, and the second generation has now come of age to their golden years, we realize that the third and fourth generation are unaware of major contributions West Indians did to support the development of Panama. Some youths have asked, how come we're here? And why our surnames are Smith, Joseph, or Williams, while other Black people's names are Lopez, Martinez, or Coronado? This occurred because for many years, no one mentioned of the contribution the diggers and craftsmen made. Neither were they presented in the schools or through the media. Yet the number of West Indians who came from the Caribbean islands were impactful. They came on their own free will. Consider the 40,000 souls who came to our Panamanian shores from places like Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and several other islands. My grandparents came from Jamaica and from Barbados. One way to introduce the information about the canal and the people called diggers and craftsmen who made it become a reality is to have students participate in activities that enable them to get a bird's eye view of what these brave men and women experienced and what they brought to their new homeland of Panama to enhance their way of life. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, SAMAAP made an effort towards making our youth become more cognizant of the role our West Indian ancestor played in the building of the Panama Canal. SAMAAP created an intercollegiate questionnaire on the theme of the canal, and each interested school prepared their students to meet at the Ascanio Rosemena Auditorium to carry out a quiz bowl type activity to showcase their knowledge and facts about the canal and determine the winners of the contest. During the yearly fair, there was the Children's Corner, which encouraged participation at all levels, which enabled positive learning experiences. A few young people had the privilege of meeting some of the most senior gentlemen who worked on the canal and were 90 years old at the time and still were able to share what they remembered from their experiences. This created much excitement among those who met them. Other youths actually visited the Miraflores locks and were privy to some of its operation. Well, the answer to the question the youth had asked earlier was, blacks came to Panama during the colonial times. They came as slaves. They were brought by the Spanish masters who were given their Spanish surname, while our ancestors who came in the second half of the 19th century and the 20th century, they came on their own volition seeking greener pastures. They came through several streams of migration. They built the railroad, they worked on the banana plantation, the failed French Canal, and then joined the North American Canal, which took 10 years, from 1904 to 1914. In order to introduce the information of the history of the canal and the diggers and the crafters who worked arduously to complete the monumental task of building the canal, SAMAAP has developed a relationship with schools and education centers in the community with activities to enable young people to get a sense from whence our ancestors came and who they were. Listed all the activities that were introduced to the young people. This gave them an opportunity to understand the overall picture of West Indian culture. They learned the calypso, the steel pan, dramatization, dancing the maypole and quadrille, and many types of reading, the Anansi folk tale, the gastronomic cuisine, and making models of the canal. Now that we are at post-pandemic, SAMAAP has become more intentional in recruiting more young people to use technology to reach a larger swath of the millennial generation and the Gen Z population. There is a need to make continued contact with governmental agency that will bring out the goals to the forefront and have the world know and learn the major contribution of our ancestors in building the Panama Canal, one of the wonders of the world. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor McGrinson, for your participation. Now that we know more about the efforts that SAMAAP has been doing, educational and culturally, here in Panama, let's talk about the SAMAAP transgenerational focus and how they can plan to keep our legacy through the future. That's what the Captain Arcelio Hartley will talk about.
Good afternoon to all, and thank you for sharing this afternoon your session with us at SAMAAP. Arcelio Hartley. I'm the president of SAMAAP. Verónica is the vice president, and Christina is one of our key members. And I just want to talk a little bit about SAMAAP from its organizational side. SAMAAP as an organization SAMAAP as an organization was founded on the basis of community outreach. We need to understand that when the museum was founded in 1980, the director of Institute of Culture at that time, the government institution, decided to contact members of the community in order to organize a support base that would maintain the museum as a point of interest and value for years to come. It is too often that in our government system, museums open and museums close. And so this support base has been functioning for the last 43 years. This was a very good thing, and the community actually responded, resulting in us being able to boast that of the 18 government museums that are presently in the country, this one, like I said, was maintained open for 43 years. It is closed twice, 2017 for structural repair, and just this year again for structural repairs. As you would have been able to appreciate from both Christina and Veronica's presentation, SAMAAP has managed to maintain a strong community outreach and participation to the extent that our organization has gained great respect and appreciation both from civic and the governmental institutions. Nevertheless, we must admit with some sadness that we have not been as successful in developing a strong younger membership base. We recently held our board elections, and we sent out over 260 ballots to members. And of that number, I would have had a hard time finding 25 that would have been under the age of 45. For at least the last 10 years, this has been a topic of concern for SAMAAP. In 2020, the National Secretariat for Development of Afro-Panamanians promoted among the several Afro groups the intent of developing a strategic plan. And this allowed SAMAAP as an organization to take a hard look at the trajectory that we had been following for the last 35 years and to determine what changes could be made in order to produce different results. We changed the mission statement. As you will notice here, our mission statement previously said it's an organization to raise funds to maintain the museum. We changed that from simply being an activity to raise funds to one that would be that of arousing interest in the museum in order to preserve our history and promote our culture. The idea that we wanted our purpose to be loftier than just caring for museum pieces. The aim would be to promote a greater appreciation for history with the hope that this in turn would promote greater appreciation for the museum's exhibitions. It was a move hoping to create a certain sense of value for the museum, but in a younger generation. The strategic plan has 5 pillars. And as you notice here, 1, developing a strong relationship with the Ministry of Culture, who owns the museum. We want to have an actual formal relationship with them. We want to implement, and you see number 2, implement strategies to attract youth. It's going to be a pointed, focused effort then as part of our organization's efforts to attract a youth base. Strengthen our capacities in museums, be able to understand, visiting, being a part of MAC and these things that strengthen your understanding of museums, but also continue doing what we did in the past. Maintain the museum, maintains its facilities. And as you visit tomorrow, you'll see some of what SAMAAP has done in the museum. And then, of course, this is something that was never there. Strengthen our relationship with other groups that are also part of our defending our ethnic heritage. In 2020, 2 things happened that were significant. One, and in some measure, this confirmed for us the elements of this strategy that needed to be developed in order to guarantee some transgenerational continuance. First, COVID prevented us from having our traditional memorial pilgrimage. And Verónica was sort of alluding to that. This is one of the things that SAMAAP does. Other than the fair, we have every August a celebration for a week in which we do a pilgrimage through the Gayle Cut to remind folks of the sacrifice of lives that were lost during the construction of the canal. We weren't able to do that, and so instead, we made a pilgrimage to the Atlantic side, the Caribbean coast, to a monument that had been erected there. That side. This small monument was erected by the 1952 graduates of the Rainbow City Occupational High School, a high school in one of the segregated West Indian communities that were established in the US-controlled Canal Zone. The inscription on the plaque that you see on that monument reads thus: "We, the descendants of those West Indians, proudly dedicate this plaque to their memory. We are grateful to our forebears for the glorious tradition which is our rich heritage. We pledge our best efforts to uphold this tradition and to strive intelligently for a better way of life." This obviously had been an inscription that reveals a level of pride that was prevalent among the West Indian generations of that time. It was precisely that regeneration of West Indians, their offsprings, who came together now in their 30s and 40s to establish SAMAAP as an organization. They felt pride, they felt an ownership of the heritage, they were strong in that. Somehow, in order to engage with a similar level of appreciation, in order to engage a new generation with a similar sense of appreciation, we must find a way to recover the pride in the legacy and in the heritage that is theirs, left to us by those who did that monumental work of the past, which was the building of the Panama Canal. To this end, we therefore embark on an educational campaign to fill a void in Black history, since this is not taught in our schools, and many parents today have become disconnected with the history of their own past. That led us to first partner with an Afro-American fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, who provided 7 months of virtual training with courses ranging from Black history and where they came from in the Americas to financial management and buying and purchasing of new homes, investing in finance markets. These were recipients of the prizes at the end of the course of 7 months that they did through Zoom. We also recruited one of our renowned local Black historians, Dr. Agatha Williams, to conduct training in sessions in which we trace our existence back all the way to Africa, in order to rediscover the greatness that was there before they were brought over to this side, in order to remember the significant contributions of some of those who came before us. I don't know how many of you have heard of Mansa Musa, but yes, they would say he's still the richest man that ever existed in the world, and he's African. We have since made several presentations at high schools, educating on this history of the integration of Afro-descendants into the life of this country, and with particular emphasis on the contributions of West Indians to the celebrated development of our nation. I must point out that one young man who accompanied us on that visit to that monument was so impressed with the contributions of the past generations that he committed himself to working with SAMAAP. And we are proud to say that he served this year as our chairman of the MAC Coordinating Committee. Yeah. He's standing right there. The second thing that occurred was an encounter with one of SAMAAP's highly esteemed promoters. And this is one of the persons who supports us with finances. He lives abroad but was visiting in Panama. We shared with him our concerns about recruiting youth in order to guarantee continuity of the organization. He asked a pointed questions, which was kind of difficult. He said, "Will you be willing to have a young person become a member of your board?" A few of the directors present struggled to answer that question because many have held for many years the notion that to involve our young people with notable levels of responsibility, we have to first train them, prepare them. He, however, challenged us. Why can't you allow them to occupy a position right now, just as they are? That challenge resonated with me personally and has led me to push steadily to have our bylaws revised in order to include on the board a position that would focus primarily on developing more youth into our organization. We're in the process of doing that right now, and we hope to have new bylaws adopted by our next election in 2 years. We have also been adjusting many of our administrative procedures to change them from methods that were comfortable for those pioneers 40 years ago, but which only serve to turn the youth away today because they consider them as being part of the dark ages. We're doing a lot more online and including carrying out our meetings. We are hopeful and we feel very confident that these efforts will produce positive results and will continue to see SAMAAP in the near future, not only continuing to engage our community, but also passing the baton of leadership firmly on to the next generation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being here. If you have any question, please raise your hand.
And I'll bring the mic to you so that you can announce who you are and ask a question, because as you know, we are taping this session.
Hello, Shamir from Jamaica. I just found out Errol and I are cousins. Just kidding. But I want to know, how have you guys tried coordinating with your Ministry of Culture in terms of getting this into the school curriculum?
As I mentioned, I mentioned the word black organizations, Afro organizations. There are about almost 30 different little project groups, and they come under an umbrella that we just recently incorporated into the government with a recognized status. It's called the Forte Afro-Panameño. It comprises all these little groups. And one of the things that's been striving and pushing, and even I mentioned the Secretariat for Afro-Panameñan Development. That's a position that also was created just about the last 12 years, 10 years or so, within the government. It's a result of the efforts of these black groups. And they have promoted putting into the curricular black history. It has actually been presented to the Assembly, but it has not been passed and enacted into law. And now it was presented in the past administration. We have a new administration, and this is one of the things that will probably just stay on ice for a long time before it actually promotes again. So it's a constant fight. Yes, we do want to see that in the curriculum, especially because there is still strains of racism and some other things that are present. Even today, we're still having one of the fights that we have is for children to be able to go to school with their Afro-natural styles. And even though we got the Ministry of Education in the last administration to put out an edict saying this is allowed, individual schools still fight that. So it's a struggle, and we're still moving in that direction. Thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you for the answer. And just another comment, I don't know how easy or difficult it is to get like a club, but in terms of like in schools having your own club, So that would also help with youth engagement.
No, we have not done an effort of creating a club within the schools. As both Christina, I think, was one emphasized, the move that we do to schools. And I must admit, SAMAAP is this volunteer organization on the side, and we have all these other things. So we try to reach out, but it's not a constant effort. We do it a certain period of the year, and then we're doing something else. And so we don't. And we, of course, we do it with the few people. Even though I say we have 250 members, a third of those live in the United States. They support us, but they live in the United States. And the others that are here, you're not going to have that many doing the work. So that's one of our realities. We have support, but they're not all present. So it's a struggle. But these are good ideas, definitely, and we hope that we can probably implement that in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I no speak good English. I no understand English. I speak Spanish. She translate.
I will translate. Go ahead.
She translate.
I'll translate. Go ahead, Mavis. Yo voy a traducir. Dale.
Ok. Listo. Bueno, hace un ratito conversando un poco en la mesa y escuchando ciertas...
Just a while back, conversing on the table and listening to some of the presenters.
Okay. Y escuchando ciertas situaciones que algo que he aprendido del movimiento.
Something I've learned about the movement.
Que entré cuando tenía 19 años y conozco a muchos.
That I began in it when I was 18 years old, and I've continued.
Yo creo que el tema del relevo generacional no es algo como ponte tú y quítate tú y ponte y me pongo yo.
The generational transfer is not just a matter of move away and I step in.
Yo creo que hay espacio, siempre he tenido eso presente. Creo que mi alma mater, que fue el Centro de la Mujer Panameña con la señora Cecilia.
I always believe that there's a space for that. And my alma mater, I came into one of the organizations with Cecilia Moreno.
Es, estoy yo aquí, pero tú tienes la oportunidad de expandirte y crear conmigo, no quitarme del lugar para que yo sea la siguiente generación, porque ustedes todavía están presentes.
We believe that I should be able to come in and you move to the side but not move away, so that there's space for all of us to move together as we go forward.
Eso me brindó la oportunidad de hoy tener mi propia organización en Colón, que es Artes Escénicas.
That allowed me to be able to create my own organization eventually in Colón, which is part of this.
La primera persona que apoyó el proyecto con su personería jurídica fue el Centro de la Mujer Panameña.
First person that supported that to get my recognition in the government was the Women's Center, of which I originated.
¿Qué quiero llegar con eso? Que al final creo que hay muchas iniciativas innovadoras que visualizo como gestora cultural para el museo. No necesariamente tienen que hacerlas, pero les dejo algunas ideas.
I think there are a lot of innovations that we can implement that to help with the movement that is supporting the museum.
Una de ellas es el hecho de que, ¿qué pasa con nosotros? Yo soy afro-antillana, muy orgullosa. Mi bisabuela era jamaicana y se llamaba como yo Mavis.
I am proudly West Indian, whether you want to believe it or not. My grandmother came from Jamaica and she has the same name as me, Mavis.
Y mi tío abuelo es Christopher McLean, que también es parte del museo.
And I know my grandfather is Christopher McLean, who is part of the museum.
Y irónicamente, mis tíos y mis abuelos, mi abuela incluso, ya fallecieron.
My uncles and my grandmother, parents all passed away.
El poco registro histórico que nosotros tenemos de legado, porque nosotros no nos enseñaron inglés, ni nos metieron de lleno en la cultura.
And the few things that we have of legacy, I mean, unfortunately, we don't even have English because they didn't train us that, so the few things that we have that will lead us into the culture.
Eso hizo que durante mi niñez y adolescencia yo me sintiera totalmente perdida de una identidad.
And so on my youth, my childhood, I was totally lost with my identity in that ethnic group.
Porque mi madre no la tenía, porque mi abuela se casó, como ella le decía, un paño, un hispano.
My mother didn't have it. My mother married a Spanish-speaking person, and so I lost that.
Y él, a pesar de que hablaba inglés, no le permitía hablar inglés a mi abuela en casa con mi mamá y mi familia.
And so he did not allow speaking of English in a home, neither for my grandmother nor my mother.
Bueno, hay otras. Bueno, ¿qué pasa? Ahora hay una nueva generación de personas como yo.
There's a new generation of people like me, like myself.
que lastimosamente no tuvieron una mentoría como la mía que fue con Urena,
that didn't have the mentorship like I had with Urena Best, who is one of our key,
que pude
Lawyers.
encontrar un lugar
that
para pertenecer.
allowed me to find my space of belonging.
Yo creo que nosotros como siguientes generaciones, ustedes y nosotros que ya no soy parte del movimiento de juventud,
I believe that both you and us, that I that no longer am part of the youth movement,
tenemos la responsabilidad de que jóvenes que están en los barrios
we
y
need
en
to
las
assure that the children
comunidades,
that are in the lower communities, in the barrios,
algo que no le van a enseñar ni en su casa, ni en su iglesia, ni en ninguna parte,
to bring to their attention something that they're not going to learn in the schools or even in their homes.
ellos puedan tener la oportunidad de tener mentores
They can have the opportunity to have mentorship
que hablen su lenguaje
that would speak their language,
para poder incidirlo en la historia y que ellos se sientan parte de un lugar.
so that it was direct into their history and make them feel a part of their heritage.
Yo creo que ahí es donde entramos nosotros, que
believe
manejamos tecnología,
That's
que
where
manejamos
we come in,
otras,
that we are managing the technology and we can do other things.
otras metodologías alternativas de educación, incluyendo la parte de museo y de historia, en donde no necesariamente cambia la directiva, sino que la juventud, la nueva generación, aporta y crea para crear estas metodologías y lleva el mensaje a las comunidades.
So we have a place because we can come in. We can bring in the technology. We can bring all the new methodologies, and we can help bring this into that direction. And so that's exactly what we're trying to have happen. We applaud that.
I want to thank thank you. I want to thank SAMAAP for not only introducing us to what they do, but from the audience in terms of presenting where we should go forward. I had the privilege of going to the Antillean Museum almost 30 years ago, and I'm really glad that it is still here because my grandfather was born here and I speak no Spanish. So it's really important that you're still doing what you're doing. And I think the importance is organizations like this do what the structured society doesn't necessarily want to deal with, and that is to confront the reality of their past. So please continue that work. And might I say, it'd be nice to have a pilgrimage of SAMAAP to Barbados, as I know Barbadians do a pilgrimage here almost every year around the time of the opening of the canal. So I want to thank everyone, because the reason why we brought the session forward is so that we can end a little earlier, because remember the buses leave at 5 p.m. to Musée du Canal, so that we can, one, see the museum, but also can really let our hair down, no pun intended, and have some fun on what is our last day before our journeys to the Atlantic and Pacific on Friday and Saturday. Tomorrow and Saturday. So I want to thank you so much, and anyone again who has those ideas that can help SAMAAP, especially engage with young people, and I dare say it's young people to engage with young people. Let's push that forward. But thank you so much for coming.